Respect their opinion to say yes for whatever reasons they have. They must respect our opinion to say no for the reasons we have stated.
When we forged with many other Kenyans to form the Jubilee Party, we wanted and we now have a national political movement.
Na commission ya IEBC isituletee mchezo. Kama namna gani? Sisi tunataka kupiga kura, wananchi wa Kenya waamue rais wao. Enda upige kura kwa mpango ambao utapatia mtoto wako kazi. Enda upige kura kwa mpango ambayo iko na pesa ya kuinua biashara yako.
William Kipchirchir Samoei Arap Ruto is easily one of Kenya's top 3 political figureheads, having remained at the center of the country's body politic for the last 15 years.
I see him as a self-made man, a man who will want to project himself as an ordinary person, having lived an ordinary life, and so wants to identify with the have-nots.
William Ruto was born on December 21st, 1966 in Kamagut in the county of Uasin Gishu to Daniel and Sarah Cheruyot. He attended Kerotet Primary School for his elementary education, then Wareng Secondary School for his O-levels before joining Kapsabet Boys High School for his A-levels. And it was during his time at the University of Nairobi in the late 1980s, where he studied botany and zoology, that Ruto's political appetite came to the fore. He would later enroll for a master's degree in environmental science and a doctorate in philosophy in plant ecology from the same university. After graduating with his bachelor's degree at the height of the clamor for multipartyism in 1990, Ruto plunged into politics. He became the organizing secretary for the Youth for KANU 92, a group that had been formed to drum up support for President Daniel Arap Moi, who was facing the rigors of a multi-party election for the first time since ascending to power 14 years earlier.
The connection comes because Ruto was a leader of the choir in the AIC church, and as you know, Moi loved the church so much, AIC especially. So probably I think that is the starting point, Ruto's entry into politics.
In the 1997 general election, Ruto was elected Member of Parliament for Eldoret North constituency, beating veteran politician Reuben Chesire. Ruto went on to serve as Eldoret North MP for 15 years.
Ruto is very good, is a good orator. He can speak endlessly, and he chooses his words in a way convenient to the audience that he's addressing. So when he goes to Western, he knows what to say in Western. When he goes to Central, he knows what to say to the people in Central. So yeah, understanding his audience, being able to be very measured.
In 2002, as he retained his parliamentary seat, he found himself in the opposition benches for the first time as the NARC revolution swept KANU out of office. 5 years in the opposition led Ruto to join hands with Raila Odinga and others who had fallen out with President Mwai Kibaki on the back of the controversial 2005 constitutional referendum. Going into the disputed 2007 elections, Ruto's political stock had risen significantly.
I think we have managed to persuade our followers and supporters of ODM to agree to a nomination exercise. That does not, however, preclude the option of agreeing on a candidate as long as that agreement brings on board all the players of ODM.
He sought the Orange Democratic Movement ODM presidential ticket, but polled third behind Odinga and Musalia Mudavadi. He became a member of the famous ODM Pentagon, emerging as the undisputed Rift Valley political kingpin.
He was able to galvanize the Rift Valley.
Can you tell us who will be briefing on Wednesday? And then regarding the Ukraine grain deal, you said in an interview with TASS on Friday that you expect concrete results by May 18. And if that doesn't happen, the UN will have to acknowledge a few things about Western sanctions and the effect of that.
May 18th?
Yeah.
What comes May 18th?
You said you expect on the Ukraine grain deal,
A grain deal, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. You expect concrete results by May 18 is what you told TASS. And then you said if you don't get that, the UN will have to acknowledge some certain things about Western sanctions. But you didn't say that Russia would withdraw from the deal. So if May 18 comes around and Russia doesn't get what it wants, will the deal continue?
It's not me who decides, as you understand. We've been saying consistently that the deal is not working. The second part of the deal, which concerns the Russian export of food and fertilizers, is not working. Is not working 100%, despite all the efforts Secretary General and Rebecca Greenspan are undertaking, and we recognize these efforts. But we are where we are. And what will happen in 60 days, where we said that we expect the breakthrough, I cannot predict. As I said, it's not my prerogative to give you even heads up on that. But let's see what happens on the 18th of May and what progress we could achieve by that date. On area formula, you will learn the name of the briefers very shortly. Today, I think, in the second part of the day, because it's being coordinated with Moscow and will come with the final list shortly.
And have you received any pushback from any of your colleagues on the Security Council regarding your ARIA?
Not really. Look, area formula meetings are meetings which provide for the participation of all council members. If we see somebody is missing, of course we will do likewise when they have their own area formula meeting on whatever topic. We participate in every area formula meeting that our colleagues who are not, especially those who are not in agreement with us on many issues, are conducting, and we never miss any unless they make the first move.
Thank you, Fedor, and thank you, Ambassador. It's Pamela Falk from CBS News. One question and then a follow-up. There's a great deal of concern about the arrest of American Wall Street Journal journalist Evan Gershkovich. And we'd like to hear from you about what you think in terms of responding to U.S. and many journalist organizations' requests to release him. And then the second question is just since your foreign minister will be coming at the 25th, 26th, end of
24th, 25th.
24th, 25th, end of April. Do you expect any kind of possible or a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Blinken, as they both did as a pull aside in early April? I mean, in early March in India. Thank you.
I think that depends on two factors. First, where Blinken will be at that time, Secretary Blinken, and on his ability and willingness to meet with our foreign minister. We never, ever, and we stated it numerous times that we are not running away from whatever meetings with those people who want these meetings. If Secretary Blinken would like to have a meeting, of course the space will be provided. If he doesn't, then it's irrelevant.
Foreign Minister Lavrov would want one if it's possible.
Well, if such meeting is requested, I presume that Minister Lavrov will be ready to meet Secretary Blinken. But for that, we need at least one condition: a willingness to meet.
And now, Mr. Gershkovich?
Yeah. On Gershkovich, I'm not an investigative body, you know, that we, believe it or not, but we have the division of powers in Russia. He was arrested on charges of espionage. The investigation is going on. We hear statements coming from the West. Today, Secretary Blinken talked to Minister Lavrov on that issue. But that will be decided not by Minister Lavrov or Secretary Blinken, but by investigation and by the evidence that the investigation could provide for the court. That's all I can say on this. On the same topic, I would like to say that yesterday there was an assassination of a Russian blogger and journalist whose nickname is Tatarsky. His real name is Fomin. The suspect was apprehended and she basically pleaded guilty. No reaction we heard from the international community or from the UN or journalist organizations on that crime. So we still consider that to be a little bit, not a little bit, but to a large extent selective when assessing what happened to journalists here and there, so to say. Sorry?
We've all covered that story.
I appreciate it, but not a single word from those organizations that should have commented on it, and they would have commented on it if it were not a Russian journalist.
Thank you, Fedor, and thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. A couple of follow-ups to what you've said. On Evan Gershkovich, Russian authorities that said that they caught him red-handed. Can you show the world the evidence that Evan was providing information to a government rather than publishing it in articles in the Wall Street Journal as any journalist would do? And apparently he has not been granted consular access and a visit with his lawyers. Why is the Russian government refusing to do that? Secondly, a follow-up on what you just said about the assassination of the Russian blogger. You said that the suspect was apprehended and she pleaded guilty. Did she appear in court?
No, perhaps legally that's not the correct phrase. You plead guilty in the court, of course. But,
Yes, right.
But she basically confirmed that it was her who brought the explosive device to the cafe where there was the public was and the victim was.
And did she know that it was an explosive device?
That we have the authorities that do investigation have to find out.
And just a third follow-up on your presidency. The U.S. ambassador told us this morning that she expects the Russian presidency to be professional, but she also said that the U.S. expects Russia to be spreading disinformation about Ukraine. Could you respond to that? Thank you.
I would agree with the first part of the that statement. I think Linda was correct, and I hope that was not a question, but a statement that she expects us to act professionally as presidency of the Security Council, which she had a chance to get assured when we were presidents last time, and that was her first presidency with us in the seat of the chair of the Security Council. So I will not disappoint you on that. On the second part, that we are spreading will be spreading, using the presidency to spread disinformation about Ukraine. That's a statement that is in vein of the Western narrative that Russia is doing nothing but spreading disinformation about Ukraine. In fact, we think just the opposite. And one of the disinformation that the Western media and Western officials are spreading is the situation of Ukrainian children who were allegedly kidnapped from Ukraine and brought to Russia against their will. And this is just one aspect. But the Area Formula meeting, which I hope you will follow, is intended to dispel this narrative and the so-called Russian disinformation on that issue. There are many others, of course, but I will not stop here to cite all of them. On Gershkovich, you said, could you provide evidence? No, I can't, because I'm not an investigative body, and I do not have information on the details that and the essence of accusations that he was accused of. Consular access, I think that according to consular and diplomatic traditions, it will be provided, but at what stage and when, I also have no idea. That is for the authorities in Moscow to decide. You asked also on the assassination, right?
Yeah, and you answered that.
Okay.
Me. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Susan Tehrani from WION, India. Russian